2. Metal, cast iron. Wooden planes are lighter than their metal versions. But metal planes are easier and cheaper to use. Metal planes have now taken the place of the traditional wooden ones. But remember, the functions of both are almost the same. The difference is the size and the use to which it is put. Let us look at the different parts of a bench plane. All bench planes have precision ground soles. A handle is attached to the body at the back, and a grip knob is at the front to control the tool. At the center is the frog, which is fixed at an angle of 45 degrees. The cutting iron is placed on top of the frog. The cutting iron is used for shaving the wood. The cutting iron assembly consists of a cutting iron to which is bolted a cap iron. The cap iron helps to break the wood shavings and gives support to the cutting iron for better cutting. The complete assembly is retained in position by the part known as the lever cap. A lever at the upper end of the frog helps in the lateral movement of the cutting iron. The brass knurled turn screw, which is behind the frog, can be adjusted to control the amount of cut. A large range of bench planes are available and are used for different purposes. They are jack plane, smoothing plane, rebate plane, grooving plane. A jack plane is a general-purpose bench plane, used for general smoothing of the edges or sizing of timber in majority of carpentry work. Let's first take a look at how to use a jack plane for small wooden pieces. Fix the wooden piece to the bench stop on the workbench to fit it firmly. Now hold the jack plane with one hand on its handle and the other hand on its knob. Move it to and fro. Let's now see how to use a jack plane for larger wooden planks and boards. Fix the wooden piece to the bench vise on the workbench to fit it firmly. You will need a helper for planks. Now hold the jack plane from its handle using both hands while your helper holds the knob from the opposite direction using his both hands. Then move the jack plane with a combination so that the movements are in a flow. When the jack plane moves from the handle towards the knob, your helper pulls it towards him. When the jack plane comes back, you need to pull it and your helper will slightly loosen his grip. This will allow the jack plane to move freely. Smaller jack planes are used to work on small wooden pieces. Bigger jack planes are used to work on larger wooden planks and boards. A smoothing plane is a shorter version of the jack plane. It is used for smoothing the article while giving a finishing touch. It is lighter and smaller than the jack plane. Before starting, take care that the blade and the cap iron are placed as close as possible. The distance between the two should not be more than 1 millimeter. The metal smoothing plane looks similar to the jack plane. The only difference is of its size and length. The wooden smoothing plane does not have any handle or knob. Being small in size, you can hold it from behind and use it by pushing it on the wooden piece to make it smooth in a similar way as with the jack plane. The trying plane is longer than the jack plane and is used for longer wooden pieces or planks. Trying plane's long length helps you peel long lengths of wood. It is mostly used to straighten the edges of the plank. The blade is broader than all other bench planes, measuring more towards breadth than length. Rebate means making space for the other part of the article to fit in. Rebate plane is used to make a rebate in a wooden frame, plank or member. Commonly, rebate plane is used for small articles like photo frames. The blade in rebate plane is approximately 1 inch, which is smaller than the blade of the jack plane and smoothing plane. You can use rebate plane alone without any helper. It is used like the jack plane. Let us see how to make use of a rebate plane on a wood piece. Step 1. Measure and mark the depth and the width of the rebate on the wooden piece. Step 2. Fix the wooden piece on the workbench properly fit with the bench vise. Move the rebate plane in a similar way like the jack plane. Continue cutting the chips of wood till you achieve the required dimensions. Grooving planes are used to make grooves in the wood member. It helps in making grooves for fixing glasses or plywood in a wooden member. The grooving plane can make grooves of 3 millimeters to 12 millimeters in width. The grooving plane is used like the rebate plane. Let's look how to assemble a wooden bench plane. For this, you need to use a hammer and a wooden wedge to assemble all parts of the bench plane. Coming on to the process of dismantling wooden bench plane. Step 1. You can see a striking nut on the top of the plane. Use a hammer on this nut to loosen the blade and the wooden wedge. Now you can easily pick and separate the wooden wedge and blade. Further dismantling is needed if you want to resharp the blade or reset the blade. All wooden planes are assembled and dismantled in the same way. Let's now see how to dismantle a metal bench plane. For this, you need to remove the blade. Step 1. To remove the blade, first lift the lever on the lever cap and slide it from beneath its locking screw. Step 2. Lift the blade with its cap iron locking screw and slide the cap iron towards the cutting edge past the screw head through the hole of the blade, separating the two components. Step 3. To adjust the frog of the plane, release the two locking screws with the help of the screwdriver. Now let's learn the process of assembling or adjusting the metal bench plane. Step 1. Take a sharpened blade. Hold it bevel downwards and lay the cap iron across it to drop the screw head through the hole. Back off the depth adjustment to the required setting. Precautions while working with the bench plane. Do not use the bench plane on a wood having knots or nails. Do not use bench plane on painted wood. Ensure the wood piece or wooden plank is properly fitted to the workbench. Maintain a proper rhythm with your partner while using a jack plane. Do not use blunt blades. Ensure that the blade and the wooden drive are properly fit. Maintain a proper gap between the cap iron and blade while assembling the bench plane. Do not wear loose-fitting clothing. As a carpenter, you will constantly need to drive nails, assemble wooden members, tap or adjust something. For all these jobs, you will require a hammer or mallet. After completing this session, you will be able to identify the various hammers and mallets. Use the various hammers and mallets and observe precaution while using hammers and mallets. The most commonly used hammers are the claw hammer, ball peen hammer, cross peen hammer, wooden mallet. The claw hammer is the most commonly used hammer. The claw hammer head is made of cast steel. It has a striking surface on one end and a claw on the other. The face is used to drive the nail into the wood. The split peen or claw is used to pull out the nails or bent nails from wood. Before you start nailing, mark the point where you want to drive the nail. Grip the hammer by the handle firmly. Angle the nail against the grain for better holding power. Use the face of the claw hammer head to drive the nail, while holding the nail in place with your other hand. Keep your wrist straight and use your whole forearm to lift and drop the hammer. Strike the center of the face against the nail head. Continue to hold the nail until at least 1/3 of the nail has set in. Pound the nail with a smooth rhythm. Just in case the nail bends while hammering, you can use the claws to straighten or remove it altogether. For bent nails, place the opening between the two claws under a nail head. Slowly apply upward pressure to the handle of the hammer and pull out the nail. The ball peen hammer head is made of cast steel. This type of hammer is commonly used in sheet metal working. The ball peen hammer has a striking surface on one end. The other side of it is shaped like a ball, hence the name. Use the face of the ball peen hammer head to drive the nail, while holding the nail in place with your other hand. Use the ball side to shape pliable metal or hammer out small dents. Lightly tap the metal with the ball face side to move and bend the metal. Angle the hammer and work your way around until the metal sheet has taken the desired form. Let's take a look at the feature and procedure to use a ball peen hammer once again. A cross peen hammer is used for driving small nails and performing light work. The cross peen hammer head has two striking surfaces. One is round and the other is flat. The other side is tapered just like a wedge, held perpendicular to the handle. The wedge side is handy for driving very small nails without smashing your fingers or denting the workpiece. Use it like any other hammer. As a carpenter, you will very often use a mallet to assemble or disassemble wooden works. A wooden mallet is a wooden-headed hammer of round or rectangular cross sections. It has two identical striking surfaces. The striking face is made flat to do the work. A mallet is used to give light blows to the cutting tools such as a chisel. They are used to strike chisels and other carving instruments that a harder hammer would damage. A mallet is mostly used where the marring of work is unacceptable. In order to drive a chisel, hold the chisel from its handle. Angle the chisel on the desired mark. Use the mallet to strike the top of the chisel handle. Begin with soft taps to determine how much pressure is needed. Be careful not to remove too much wood at once. Lightly tap the mallet against the wooden member you want to secure. Keep these basic tips in mind while using hammers. Ensure the head of the hammer fits securely on the handle. Inspect the head and the handle of the hammer for any cracks. Ensure the face of the hammer is free from oil and grease. Strike the nail with the center of the striking face. Lift and drop the hammer with a smooth rhythm. Never look away while you are hammering. Always wear eye protection when using a hammer. Do not use a mallet to strike anything metallic and sharp. A carpenter can never have enough chisels in his toolbox. In this session, you will learn to work with different types of chisels and gouges. After completing this session, you will be able to identify the various chisels and gouges, use the various chisels and gouges, and observe precautions while using chisels and gouges. There are many types of chisels. Each one is designed for a different purpose. The most basic chisels are the firmer chisel, bevel edge chisel, paring chisel, mortise chisel, and gouges. Firmer chisel is a general-purpose chisel. Firmer chisels have a sharpened blade on the bottom of the rectangular edge. It is generally used for rougher and heavier work. Let us understand how to use firmer chisel. Secure the woodwork firmly on your workbench. Hold the chisel, keeping blade edge flush against the wood. Use a mallet to drive the firmer chisel. Tap the chisel handle with a mallet in short, rapid strokes. Slice off small amounts with each cut. Remove the chips. Continue the chiseling till you receive the desired result. Bevel edge chisel has a beveled edge around the entire chisel and works well in corners. It is ideal for chopping out the waste from dovetail joints. Let us understand how to use the bevel edge chisel. Secure the woodwork firmly on your workbench. Hold the chisel, putting the beveled edge of the chisel against the wood. Orient the chisel at a slight angle to the wood. Tap the chisel with a mallet in short, rapid strokes. Occasionally remove the chips from the wood. Continue the chiseling till you receive the desired result. Mortise chisel is designed for heavy-duty work. It features an extra strong blade and handle designed to withstand hard mallet blows. It is mostly used to cut deep mortise. Let us understand how to use the mortise chisel. Place the chisel blade towards the center. Hit the chisel handle vigorously with a wooden mallet. Make a series of shallow chisel cuts perpendicular to the surface. Push or tap the back of the chisel to remove thin slices. Control the depth by raising and lowering the handle. Continue chiseling, gradually widening and deepening the hole until you reach the full depth. Pare off any excess wood with the chisel. A gouge has a semicircular end blade. It is mostly used for fine woodwork, such as carving or sculpting. Gouges can be used to carve into wood or to remove wood around a design to bring the design into relief. Let us understand how to use the gouges. Firmly attach the wood to a workbench. Place your forefinger at tang of chisel. Grip the gouge handle and push the gouge forward into the wood. Raise, lower, or turn the handle to achieve the desired effect. For deeper cuts, hold the gouge perpendicular to the wood and hit the handle. You can change the size of curve as required. Keep these basic tips in mind while working with chisels and gouges. Secure the wood you are chiseling on your workbench. Always cut away from yourself while using a chisel. Avoid using a mallet to drive the chisel while paring. Do not use metal hammers to drive the chisel. Protect your hand while chiseling. Keep your chisel blades sharpened. Replace your chisel if it is chipped or cracked beyond repair. Replace splintered handles. Do not use a chisel for prying or wedging. Do not use a chisel on a metal surface. Clean and sharpen your wood chisel after each use. Wrap your chisels in a cloth before storing them in your toolbox. As a carpenter, nothing will frustrate you more than working with blunt tools. Sharpening stones are great for keeping your carpentry tools razor sharp and ready for use. In this session, you will learn to use these sharpening stones to sharpen or file your planes, chisels, and gouges. After completing this session, you will be able to identify the various sharpening stones, use the various sharpening stones, and observe precautions while using sharpening stones. There are various sharpening stones like oil stone, a water stone, and a slip stone. Oil stone is used to sharpen small chisels that are used mostly for intricate carving. It has two grades of sharpening. One side is used for rough cutting and the other side is used for smooth finishing. A water stone is similar to the oil stone, but here we use water to lubricate the stone. It is mostly used to sharpen planes and heavy-duty chisels such as firmer and mortised chisels. A water stone must be kept submerged in water when not in use. A slip stone is usually a piece of a worn-out or broken oil stone. It is usually used to sharpen gouges or tools with curved cutting edges. The process of sharpening is the same for all the stones, except for the water stone where we use water to lubricate the stone. Let us take the water stone to understand the process of sharpening. The process of sharpening is very straightforward. Step 1. Lubricate the water stone with water. Put a drop or two on the coarse surface. Step 2. Rub the blade edge on the stone until the tip of the blade gets gradually sharper. Apply gentle but firm pressure. For longer blades, rub the stone at an angle down the length of the blade, and for finer blades, Place the stone in a wooden stand or support to keep it steady. Step 3. Angle the blade while sharpening to maintain its cutting angle. Step 4. Remove all the burrs from the surface and switch the waterstone side, bringing the finer side up. Follow the same motion to smoothen the blade edge. Step 5. Swap the blade side and perform the sharpening process for the flat side of the blade. Keep the blade absolutely flat while doing so. Step 6. Test the sharpness of the blade by making vertical cuts into a scrap piece of wood. Keep these basic tips in mind while using the sharpening stones. Keep the oil stone moistened with oil at all times. Maintain the angle while sharpening the blade edge. To prevent the pores from clogging, the stone should be cleaned after each use. When not in use, keep the sharpening stones in a covered box. Keep the water stones submerged in water at all times. Do not use the sharpening tools without a lubricant. Do not check the sharpened edge with your finger. Files and rasps are especially important in producing a finished article. They are used to shape a piece of wood and smoothen its rough edges. This session will show you how to keep your saws at their best and create better finished products. After completing this session, you will be able to identify the various rasps and files, use the various rasps and files, perform the filing operation, observe precautions while using rasps and files. There are various types of files that permit varying results. They are rasp cut file, flat file, half round file, and the triangular file. Let's look at the features and procedure of a rasp cut file. A rasp cut file consists of a handle and a metal blade which has individual sharp-pointed teeth in a line. Rasp cut file is used to remove excess wood. Grip the rasp by the handle in one hand. Use the other hand to grasp the tip of the rasp in thumb and forefinger to balance the pressure on the stroke and to give control. Hold the rasp at an angle to give you more leverage. The exact angle will vary from job to job. Use the rasp in a long and smooth forward stroke to shave off layers of wood. At the end of each stroke, lift the rasp off the work and retract it for the next stroke. Do not pull back the rasp, chafing against the work. Doing so will dull the rasp and give you a rougher finish. Take a look at the parts and how to use a rasp file once again. A flat file is a general-purpose file. It is of rectangular cross-section. It is mostly used on wood which has been rasped first. Use it just like you would use a rasp cut file. Take care not to rub the file back and forth. Instead, push the rasp against the wood and then lift it off at the end of the stroke. Repeat this action of pushing and lifting. Take a look at how to use a flat file once again. A half-round file is in the shape of a segmented circle. It is mainly used for filing internal curved surfaces. Skew the file at a requisite angle and start filing. As with any filing operation, make sure to lift the file at the end of the stroke and return it to the starting position. Take a look at how to use a half-round file once again. It won't take very long before your handsaw begins to show signs of dulling. This is where the triangular file comes into play. You can use it to sharpen your saws. Fasten the saw to the bench vise with the teeth pointing upward. Start filing from the point or narrow end of the saw using the triangular file. Take care to hold the file at the same angle as the bevel. You can also use a triangular file to sharpen spurs on your marking, mortise and cutting gauge. Take a look at the parts and how to use a triangular file once again. Keep these basic tips in mind while using the rasps and files. Do not rub the files back and forth. Avoid dropping the files. Do not throw the files in your toolbox with the other tools. Use a brush to clean and unclog the files. Carefully store the files. Wrap the files separately with a cloth. Replace the files if its teeth are worn out. Replace the file handle if it is damaged. Drills and braces make excellent tools for drilling holes. These uncomplicated tools will come to your rescue when you have no power source. In this session, you will learn to work with the different types of handheld drills and braces. After completing this session, you will be able to identify the various types of handheld drills and braces. Use the various types of handheld drills and braces. Drill and bore using drills. Observe precautions while using drills and braces. You can use an array of drills and braces for drilling and boring holes. Here's a look at some of them. Bradawl, gimlet, hand drill, ratchet brace. Let's look at how to use various drills and braces one by one. The bradawl is one of the simplest boring tools. It has a sharp screwdriver-like tip that severs the wood when pushed into the wooden surface. It is usually used to make a pilot hole to hold the point of drill on its center mark. Place the bradawl blade's edge on the point. Grip the handle, supporting the blade with your index finger. You can also use it to make holes for inserting or fixing small-size screws in a wooden piece. A gimlet has a T-shaped wooden handle and spiraled flute. The head of the flute is pointed and easily bites into the wood. It does the same job as a bradawl, but you can use it to make deeper holes. A hand drill is used for boring small holes in wood by turning a hand-driven handle. Turning this handle rotates the chuck via a system of gear wheels. The chuck jaws hold the drill bits in place. You can use an array of drill bits to serve your purpose. Place the tip of the drill bit accurately on the work. Grip the straight handle located on the top of the hand drill with one hand. Grasp the drive handle with the other hand. Gently turn the drive handle clockwise, allowing the tip of the drill bit to bite into the wooden surface. Pause every few minutes to gently brush away built-up shavings. Continue drilling to bore a hole of the required depth. Screwdrivers play an important part in the day-to-day work of carpenters. There are different types of screwdrivers available, so it is important to use the right type for the job given. Most screwdrivers have a thick plastic or wooden handle attached to a steel shaft with a tip at the end. This session will show you how to use a host of screwdrivers to tighten or loosen screws. After completing the session, you will be able to identify the various types of screwdrivers, use the various types of screwdrivers, observe precautions while using screwdrivers. Screwdrivers play an important part in the day-to-day work of carpenters. There are different types of screwdrivers available, so it is important to use the right type for the job given. Most screwdrivers have a thick plastic or wooden handle attached to a steel shaft with a tip at the end. This session will show you how to use a host of screwdrivers to tighten or loosen screws. After completing the session, you will be able to identify the various types of screwdrivers, use the various types of screwdrivers, observe precautions while using screwdrivers. Screwdrivers come in various lengths and tip sizes. Let's take a look at the different types of screwdrivers. Flathead or standard screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver, offset screwdriver. Let's take a look at the flathead screwdriver. A flathead or standard screwdriver has a single flat blade that fits in the single slot of traditional screws. A Phillips head screwdriver has a 4-star point at the tip. It is used to tighten or loosen screws with matching cross-shaped slot on the screw head. An offset screwdriver comes handy where other screwdrivers don't fit because of their long handles. This Z-shaped screwdriver often comes with interchangeable bits. They are useful for applying greater turning force. Let's take a look at the procedure to use a screwdriver. The procedure to use the flathead screwdriver is almost the same as that of the Phillips head screwdriver. Here the flathead screwdriver has been taken as an example. In order to drive the screw, you must first mark the point with a pencil. Hold the screw between your thumb and forefinger. Keep the threaded end of the screw against the opening it is to be driven into. Hold the screwdriver by its handle. Keep the screw steady in the correct position. Place the tip of the screwdriver into the groove on the screw head. Twist the screwdriver clockwise while pushing the screw gently into the hole. Release the screw and continue twisting until the screw is completely secured and cannot be twisted any further. Retract the screwdriver from the groove. To remove a screw, just twist the screwdriver anti-clockwise until the screw is almost completely out of the hole. Keep these basic tips in mind while using the screwdriver. Keep the screwdriver handle clean. A greasy handle could cause an injury from unexpected slippage. The tip of the screwdriver should completely fill the slot of the screw you're driving or removing. Always hold the screwdriver in line with the axis of the screw. Do not hammer screws which cannot be turned. Do not try to use screwdrivers on screw heads for which they are not designed. Store screwdrivers in a partitioned pouch or toolbox. Do not carry screwdrivers in your pockets. Do not use a screwdriver for chiseling or piercing holes in the wood. Do not use a screwdriver with a defective handle. Do not use a screwdriver with rounded or damaged edges or tips. Use an oil stone to grind a blunt tip of a screwdriver. Do not use a screwdriver with a bent shaft. Clamps usually come to the carpenter's aid when he uses glue to secure two pieces of wood together. These clamps serve to provide a temporary clasp to hold wooden pieces together during the drying period. This session will walk you through the different clamps and the techniques to use them. After completing this session, you will be able to identify the various types of clamps, use the various types of clamps, and observe precautions while using clamps. There are different types of clamps that you can use depending on your requirements. Some commonly used wood clamps are T-bar clamp, C-clamp or a G-clamp. Let's take a look at the features and procedures to use a T-bar clamp. The T-bar has two sliding jaws, an adjustable jaw and a tail slide jaw. The adjustable jaw is attached to the screw and can be moved using a handle, and the tail slide jaw moves freely along the bar. It can be held in the required position by locking the pin in one of the holes made along the bar. The T-bar clamp is used while making doors and windows and need to secure the joints. You can also use the T-bar clamp to hold the wooden pieces in place while the adhesive sets in. The procedure to use the T-bar clamp is as follows. After you apply glue and fix the wooden pieces, you need to press them together. Use a wet rag to wipe away any excess glue that may ooze out from between the wood pieces. This will prevent your clamp from getting stuck. adjust the clamp, opening the jaws close to the requisite size. Turn the handle to retract the jaw. Position the clamp so that the adjustable jaw rests against one piece of wood. Push the tail slide jaw against the other piece of wood. Lock the pin and secure the tail slide jaw in place. Place soft blocks of wood between the workpiece and the jaws to avoid marring your work. Tighten the clamps carefully. Be sure to distribute pressure evenly on the work. Turn the handle attached to the adjustable jaw clockwise to clamp the pieces of wood. Leave it for the adhesive to dry. Remove the clamps. Release the clamped wood by turning the handle on the adjustable jaw anti-clockwise. Let's see the procedure to use the T-bar clamp once again. A C-clamp is a metal clamp shaped like the letter C. C-clamps are quite versatile and come in handy for all gluing procedures. It has two jaws. One is fixed at one end while the other is attached to a threaded screw. G-clamp is just another long-reach C-clamp. Carpenters use it when they need to clamp the workpiece away from the edge. The procedure to use a C-clamp is as follows. Adjust the clamp, loosen the threaded screw, place the fixed jaw against one wooden piece. Spin the threaded screw until the movable jaw comes in contact with the work. Use the thumb screw to tighten down the jaws. It is a good idea to use a thin piece of wood or cardboard between the wooden piece and the clamp. This will save and protect the wood from dents. Keep these basic tips in mind while using clamps. Place a softening block between each jaw and the surface of the item to be clamped. Wipe excess glue from the surface with a damp cloth. The jaws should clamp the workpieces tightly. While using long clamps, try to get an assistant to handle the other end of long clamps. Do not hammer the clamp thumb screw to tighten the clamp. Crowbars and pincers are typical parts of every carpenter's toolbox. As a carpenter, you will often have to pull out nails, open crates, or even move heavy boxes. Using crowbars and pincers will make the job faster and easier. After completing the session, you will be able to identify pincers and crowbars, use pincers and crowbars, and observe precautions while using pincers and crowbars. A crowbar is an iron bar with one end wrought into wedge and the other is a hook with a flattened fork for pulling nails. The forked end is usually used to pull out big nails. Let's take a look at how to use a crowbar. Simply drive the opening between the two forks under the nail head where the notch hooks onto the nail. Apply downward force on the other end of the bar. The curved end of the bar works like a fulcrum to pry up on the nail, popping it out. You can even crank open wooden crates in a similar fashion. Place the forked end in the crevice and apply force in the opposite direction. The force will pry open the wooden seams. The wedge end of the crowbar acts as a leverage tool to lift heavy objects. Insert the wedge end of the crowbar under the object. Apply force on the other end of the crowbar, increasing its power to push up at the other end. As the object is lifted, you can slide wooden or steel piece underneath the object. Continue pushing the object with the crowbar. Let's see the procedure to use the crowbar once again. A pincers is used for pulling out nails. Pincers have three main parts. You can use the legs or handle to grip the pincers. The joint portion is the pivot. It allows the pincers to open and close. The head portion or the nose is used for cutting or gripping. In order to pull out a nail, open the pincers and gently grasp the nail by the nose. Hold the two handles together to tighten the grip. Rock the pincers back and forth to loosen the nail. Slip a piece of scrap wood under the pincers. This way, the pincers do not scrape the wood while removing the nail. As the nail slowly emerges, move the pincers down the nail. Continue rocking the pincers until the nail comes free. Let's see the procedure to use pincers once again. Keep these basic tips in mind while using a pincer and a crowbar. Use an iron bar instead of a crowbar to lift extremely heavy objects. Be cautious while moving heavy objects, lest they fall on your foot. Always pry with the bar away from yourself. Use a scrap piece of wood as support under the nose of the pincers. If the pincers are equipped with a wire cutting feature, file and sharpen it. Do not use pincers to loosen nuts or bolts. Occasionally, oil your pincers. A carpenter uses many accessories and fittings such as handles, locks, hinges, staples, knobs in everyday projects. This session will walk you through the commonly used accessories and fittings. After completing this session, you will be able to identify the different types of accessories and fittings, state the application of the accessories and fittings.
In this continuing series of lecture on the reinforcement detailing of the various RC element in a structure, I will be covering the reinforcement detailing requirement of the RC slab in this particular presentation. Now, going ahead, the reinforcement detailing of the slabs are done based on